Henry from the boat rack, and we're going to go over the dash and the battery switch and the easy drain system as a part of a delivery instructional video. So this will help maybe review before you pick up your boat, or after you pick up your boat, you can go back to the video and review. But the first thing you always do and the last thing you always do is turn the battery switch on or off. And in this boat, it's located right here at the walkthrough. So I'm going to turn that on to gain power to the boat. And this one has a single battery, so it's just a basic on-off. Off is straight up, and on is turned over to the side like that. And then the next thing you do is turn the blower on. And the blower is right there by the key switch. Turn that on. You may be able to hear it in the video. It's basically ventilating the engine compartment before you crank. And you run that, it says under that warning, under the key switch warning, to run that for 4 minutes before you crank. So I always do that. As soon as I turn the battery switch on, I turn the blower on, and that gives it plenty of time to blow out before you crank. It's a good time to get everything packed in, good time to maybe start untying the dock lines and be ready to crank the boat and go. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that back off now. And then the next switch you see here is horn. You just want to test that over so often because that's your distress signal. If you get pulled by the NC Wildlife, they'll want to hear your horn to be sure you have some type of distress signal. The next switch is the bilge pump. That is a manual way to turn the bilge pump on. The bilge pump is also automatic, so when water gets in the belly of the boat or the bilge of the boat, it automatically pumps out. But this is a manual way to turn it on. The next switch there is navigation and anchor lights. So pushing it forward turns the navigation light on. That's the red and green light at the front of the boat. This boat happens to have a recessed one, so you flip it over like so, and that's where you get your red and green light for navigating at nighttime. The anchor part of that, or the stern light, is a pole that goes in here. You just flip this up and the pole goes in there. That is very tall. It's taller than the bimini top, and it's stored in the ski locker. So you just find it in the ski locker. If I can find it. May have to find that elsewhere, but that's normally where it's stored, is in the ski locker. And you always want to be sure and put that up when you're boating at nighttime or at dusk. You want to turn on the navigation light so the oncoming traffic can see you out there on the lake. In the middle is off. I don't know if you can see that, but that switch is a little different than the rest because forward is navigating, the middle is off, and pushing it down is anchor. And the anchor light would be if you're anchored at nighttime. The official way to have your lighting on at nighttime, if you're anchored, is pushing that down in the anchor position. And again, in the middle is off. The next switch is the court lights. That's the interior lights. That gives it a nice glowing ambiance at nighttime. It looks cool at night, the blue LEDs. The next switch there is accessory. And you have a few accessory switches, kind of completes the dash. And those are just spare switches if you ran another accessory in, for example, underwater lights or some type of GPS or fish finding that you would want to turn it on and off through a switch. The next switch over here is docking lights. Those are kind of like headlights, only for docking at night. You cannot run those going down the middle of the lake at night. You only want to use those for docking or trailering the boat at nighttime to give yourself some additional light. The next switch is water pressure. This boat, you can kind of hear that pump maybe surging, but this boat is equipped with sinks and showers, and that gives you the ability to turn the water pressure on. when you want to use the water. So that pressure's not always on, it's only on when you want to use the water. And then again, the last three are just accessory switches for spare switches. What you have down here is a 12-volt outlet for charging the cell phone or any 12-volt device. This is right here, see if I can get to it closer. Engine status, that's kind of like an engine light like you'd have on your car. If you're having problems, if something's going wrong, then the engine light will light up. Over here is of course the key switch and the blower that we talked about, and this is a dimmer, so it will dim down the gauges at nighttime using that dimmer. The idea behind that is if you can dim the gauges down, you can see better over the horizon out in front of you with less light on the dash. This is a stereo control. It's pretty self-explanatory, maybe another video for that one. And that's the dash. And the battery switch we talked about, always turn that on, of course, when you go boating, and always turn it off when you're done boating. And then the quick drain is really easy. I lift the engine hatch there. A couple checkpoints you have here is the engine oil dipstick. It's right here. It just clips in there like so. Check your engine oil frequently during the first 20 hours to be sure it's not burning any oil, and it could during that first 20 hours. You top it off right here. And another quick check is your antifreeze. There's a min-max level right there, and it's 2/3 of the way full there, which is a good level. And that's actually a double tank. You put the antifreeze in here, and this cap there is for the power steering fluid. So the back side of that tank is for the power steering fluid. And then the easy drain, you have this hang tag here that you'll want to put on the steering wheel when it's drained, and that reminds yourself that it's drained and you need to put this back in place before you crank and go boating again. But to drain, you just pull the cotter pin like so, and you push this down a couple inches. It just pops down just slightly there, and then all the water will drain out of the bottom of the boat. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this one time. You kind of give it a pop, and then the water comes out the bottom. This one has the non-toxic antifreeze in it from the factory because we've never prepped it before, but normally that would be water coming out the bottom. So, and that's all there is to it. When you're ready to go boating, pull that back up, put the cotter pin back in place just like I did, and away you go. Be sure and use that hang tag. That reminds you that the system is open and the boat's winterized. And then of course you want to pull the drain plug back up to close it and put the cotter pin back in before you go boating again. Another little quick tip, closing the engine box, be sure you slide that over because it's a safety device to be sure the engine hatch doesn't come down on somebody. It's just a safety device. So I kind of do it with my foot. I do that and pull down at the same time to get the engine box shut. All right, that's a quick instruction on the switches, the battery switch, and the easy drain. And we'll be making more videos. Talk to you soon. Thanks.